Yeah, there's Lexi. All right. And
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Katie.
See,
Hey, Katie, welcome back.
thanks. I'm sorry about your car.
Oh, I know. It would be the new one, right? It's my 2022 vehicle.
Of course. Oh my gosh. And I'm sure it took you forever to get it, right?
Yeah, I actually was like,
And call the meeting to order, and then do a quick roll call here. So I don't know, Scott, let's start with you.
Yeah, Scott Gresh,
Kevin, you want to go?
Present.
Kevin Dunbar present.
Lexi,
Lexi O'Brien present.
Katie Miller present.
Sloan Carfield present.
John Buck, present.
Emerson Smith present. Present.
Central Felder, present. Paul Dietrich, present.
All right, thanks for being here, everybody virtually and in person. Kevin, we're gonna review and approve the minutes. Do you have any corrections?
I do not.
Are you sure?
I don't.
Okay,
The only thing I have is I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So
all right, that's okay.
no correction.
All right, well, do I have a motion to approve the minutes then?
I'll move to
moved.
approve the minutes.
Okay,
Second.
so Lexi, you moved, and do I have a second? Centron seconds, so. All right, thanks, guys. We did introductions last time, but we also have Sloan Carfield, we're so happy to have our high school, Webster Groves High School representative. So I don't know, Sloan, would you like to meet everybody and us to meet you? That's probably.
Sure,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
Would
Okay.
you introduce
Yeah,
yourself?
so I briefly introduced myself to everyone, but I'm Sloan Carfield. I'm a junior at Webster Groves High School. And the way I sort of found out about this opportunity to be a student representative intern was Emerson reached out to my mom, and I have done some volunteering at Webster Rock Home Ministries in the past. And then I feel like what kind of really wanted me, or what really inspired me to want to do this, is I have recently been a part of a program called Cultural Leadership, which is kind of this group of teenagers from all across St. Louis, and they're helping us to become like social justice advocates and more involved in our communities. So they encourage us to find more ways to be involved. So I feel like this is a good fit. Yeah,
We're really glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, well, I guess, Paul, let's go opposite. You want to start and
Okay.
introduce yourself?
I'm Paul Dietrich. I'm a psychologist. Work with police doing pre-employment and fitness for duty violations. Lived here about 4 years. Both my sons with Webster. So it seemed like something that I could fit into.
Oh, everybody. Oh, my name is Centron Felder. I live in Webster. I've been here. I moved here in 2014. I have a son at Hickson Middle School. I'm a school psychologist. I work in the city, and I'm excited, as always, to be a part of this board.
I'm Dale Curtis. I'm the police chief. You know, the Emerson Smith on the city council.
I'm John Buck. I work at Webster University students. My daughter is Sadie Buck is a year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Katie Miller. I know Sloan because I'm also friends with Farrell, her mom and her whole family. So, but I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I work with a lot of grief and trauma, and that's probably what drew me into this work. Lexi, you want to go?
Sure. Lexi O'Brien. I am a marketing and communications professional at Washington University. A 30+ years resident of Webster Groves, and both my kids went through the public school system here. And my involvement was inspired by working with the Alliance for Interracial Dignity. And I was just at a point in my life that I had some more time to get involved and start giving back.
Thanks.
Kevin Sombart. I'm a resident of Webster Groves. Been a resident for 1 month shy of 34 years. And just wanted the opportunity to give back to the community that I've loved to live in for so long.
Kevin, did you move here when you were 5? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Dale.
And I'm Scott Gresh. I'm a primary care doctor at Washington University. I'm the physician representative. My dad happened to be a police officer, and I got volunteered for this, but happy so. I think it's a good group, and good to have discussions like we do, and hopefully we're gaining some momentum, I think. So
Thanks, Scott. All right, well, welcome again, Sloan. We're really looking forward to your feedback. And then we will move on to updates from Chief Curtis.
The only real update I had was at the last meeting, we talked about the disparity rate, and I said that I would check on we'd asked to do the comparisons on the warning and citations. Excuse me. We made 2,367 stops of white drivers. And of those, there were 1,180 warnings issued. We made 682 stops of black drivers. And of those, there were 343 warnings issued. The rate was 0.4985, which is about 50% for white drivers for warnings. And the rate was 0.502, which is about 50% for black drivers. So it was an equitable warnings to citations comparison to both white and black drivers.
What period of time is that?
That was for 2021, all 2021.
All right, thanks, Chief. Does anybody have any questions about that? Need any more information?
I couldn't hear real well. Was this for stops for licenses and plates, or?
No, it was for all traffic stops for 2021.
Oh, okay.
The citations were 2,367, warnings 1,180 for white, 682 citations for white drivers, 343 for were warnings. Like I said, it was almost split even 50% for each group.
All right, thanks, Chief. And now we have Jenny Starkey here as our guest, and I know Lexi and Jenny, I think, had a meeting, so maybe you all speak to how you want to start this.
Goodness, yeah, I'm not sure. It's good to meet everybody. I'm Jenny Starkey. I'm the Director of Public Affairs and Community Engagement for the city. And Lexi and I did meet and kind of talked about the website and the different things that we could update on the website about the PCB and just some other avenues for ways to get what you guys are doing out to the community without making you guys start from scratch and invent your own newsletter and build your own following. So Lexi, I'm not sure if you wanted to, I know you had kind of kept a running list of things that we were thinking of adding to the site.
I did, and I put a few of them in an email to the group, but I forgot some really good ones as we got going brainstorming. So I had volunteered to be a liaison on behalf of the committee with whatever content we decide we want to put on the website to work with Jen to get that done. I'm going to start broad, this bigger thing of getting our more awareness out in the community and letting the community know how they might engage with us. And basically, we both acknowledge it seems to be a challenge, and it's more challenging with young people than it is with older people. Young folks are less likely to read the Webster Kirkwood Times, and we don't have any magic bullet to like reach that under 40 crowd of people. But we did talk about making the website, more informative about who we are and what we do. So some of the ideas we had were, in addition to linking to the ordinance, putting it into more conversational wording and describing what some of our action items are, advising people when there are opportunities to engage with us. We talked about the potential of getting an email for the PCEB. Generally, that's a distribution list. And I think Jen was going to check with the IT person on that. as well as checking with them on a calendar that we could use. I think this was more for our own internal planning purposes, so we could start to map out when we might want to have town hall listening sessions. We could also, in an internal calendar, list out other community events where we might want to have a presence. So that was another idea we checked off. Oh, another good one was that we could maybe have an embedded form if people had questions or concerns. So we're not talking about the level of, oh, I want to file a report with the police, but just, hey, I'm curious about this. Can you give me some information? And so we know that technically that's a possibility to embed a form. And so it just seems like we also talked about maybe we could have give some kind of quarterly summary. So the idea of showing results, I think, is important. So showing what our goals are and showing what results we have and showing how people can get engaged was a summary of what we discussed.
It's very much, I know that right now our boards and commissions sections on the website are very dry, just not just for the PCB, but for all of our boards and commissions. Like right now, when you go to the PCB page, it just says functions. The Police Community Engagement Board was created in 2018. Its purpose is to strengthen and build upon positive relationships between the police department and Webster Groves community through collaboration, partnerships, and outreach. And that's it. But which isn't, and a lot of them have that very brief description. And I think just adding more in there and kind of letting people know a little bit more of the tangible things that are being done. Like you all did the survey, and we could put how many people completed the survey, and just if there's even a way to share some survey results. I think kind of across the board for the boards and commissions, having a little bit more of that detailed information, I think will help just with public awareness for the community, but then also for recruitment of new members. Because I just know even before I came on here, I was a member of the Business Development Commission as through my job at Webster U. And I didn't really understand, like I read the description, I was like, okay, don't quite get what I'm going to be doing when I'm there. So I think just for all of the boards and commissions, having a little bit more detailed information, a little bit more of a description of the successes and the ongoing projects will be a good thing for a lot of different reasons. So kind of making sure that those are on there. And then just through my own communications tools, we've got, the Facebook page where we can promote things on there. I've got the Friday page e-newsletter, which goes out every week. So I'm always happy to include boards and commissions information in there. And then once a month I do, I call it the print newsletter right now, but we do a full page ad once a month in the Webster Kirkwood Times that looks like a newsletter. It's called Inside Webster Groves. And I'm happy to also put kind of board and commission updates in there. So I think that those are a few avenues to reach out to the community. And of course, I think it would be interesting to hear what other avenues there are to reach younger folks, even the high school crowd, Webster University students, and just any groups that we feel aren't seeing our information on Facebook or the e-newsletter or the Webster Kirkwood Times, I think would be useful. We did talk, Dale and I, we were at the director meeting this week, and we kind of talked about the email addresses. And it's not an impossibility if we were to set up a like PCEB@webstergrovesmo.gov. There is a small cost with that per year, but I think that that's something like $200 or something like that, just to get another space on the server to be able to do that. And because it has to be a slightly different kind of email than a staff email. But I think that that's something that could easily come out of the boards and commissions budget if that was something that you're interested in doing. And then that email address could, of course, help with like creating an Outlook calendar that you guys would be able to then access.
Lexi, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Jen, is an embedded form, is there any cost to the city for that? Because it could serve the same purpose that someone could reach out, and in that case, they could even remain anonymous if they wish to.
Yes, and we do, and there's no cost with that. We've got a lot of forms on the website. If anybody ever goes to the form center, there's a fix it form, and there's a city chats ideas form. We've got a form for people to reserve space at the parks, and we can ask for as much information as we like from that, and make it optional or mandatory. So we could put up a form and say, name is optional, address is optional, you know, and all of that information is optional. Or we could make it mandatory, and then you can decide who that form goes to via email addresses that are hidden when we set it up. There's no cost for that. Like right now, I know that there's a couple of forms that we have set up that go to a few different people, like Green Space, for example. I set up a form for them, for the people who wanted to do the Green Webster Groves tree planting initiative, and the people who agreed to do that, their entry forms went to, I think, 2 different employees here, just to make sure that no matter who was on vacation, somebody got it. And Kevin, I saw your.
Let me unmute. Do you track hits on the landing pages, or is it not possible to do that at, you know, once they get into the city website and they actually go to the PCEB, do you know how many hits there are on that website, on that landing page?
I can check that out. We do. We subscribe to a service called Moncito, and that kind of tells us, it lines up by popularity, like what the most popular pages are. So I know I get an email that kind of reports the top 5, like all throughout the summer. It was like the Aquatic Center was like the #1 hit of the of the whole website, no matter what was going on anywhere else. Everybody just visited the Aquatic Center. But I can see, it tells me which pages are hit when, and even which documents in the document center, how many people access those.
Yeah, I think that would be really important for us to see if our work is actually paying off. Because I mean, I've said this before, it's really hard to get people involved, you know, in government in general right now, but especially in city government. So.
And I'll say that there's probably not a lot of traffic on any of the board and commission pages at this point, just because I don't think there's a lot of reason for people to go there. Like, we haven't tried to drive traffic. We haven't put a lot of dynamic changing information on there to give people an incentive to visit them. So it'll probably rank pretty low on the hits, but.
Jenny,
Depends on what incidents are occurring. If we have a major incident, then that's going to get a lot of hits. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I've seen. So, you know.
Jenny, I was wondering, do you know of any other city government, like anybody that we could look at to say like, oh, they're doing a good job, like Clayton's doing a good job, or it looks really accessible and easy to use, something that we could pattern ourselves after?
I could definitely, there's a whole listserv that I'm on that kind of all of the communicators from all the municipalities around St. Louis, we talk and share ideas. So I can certainly reach out to them and see who's especially proud of their boards and commissions pages, and get some examples and send those to you guys. I can send them to Dale to be shared.
It might be helpful just to see what, you know, what some others are doing, to know how we want to do it. The other thing, I had like several questions. What about, are you the person who does Instagram too?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so we have, I don't know under what circumstances this would be, but if we had something that we wanted to share via Instagram or Twitter or something like that, that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, that's not for me personally. I do the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, LinkedIn, and Nextdoor. We have an official city section of Nextdoor, so we can always kind of share updates there. I work with the folks who do Parks and Rec and the police department and fire department, so I'm always able to, if it's PCB information, I don't see why it can't be shared from the police department page and the city page, depending upon what it is. But of course, we can kind of cross that bridge as we come to it, depending upon the info.
Okay, and then the other question I wrote down was, with that email that would be like PCEB@webstergroves.mo.gov or whatever, is that then accessible to all board members at the same time? Like we would all see it, or how would that?
And that's what I would have to do some research into that to find out how that is. Like if there is one password, or if it's something where it's I'll have to look into that and see, or if it's something that just gets forwarded to the emails that you guys have set up through personally to check your PCB information, but I'll get the details on that.
Okay. Lexi, you have a question?
One of something Jen said sparked a remembrance of the survey, because I've been looking through that, and one comment or word that kind of popped up is transparency. Like there were a number of people that mentioned, more transparency. We want to understand kind of what's going on. And so I think if we do, have a PCEB email, or if we have a form, I think it's important to let people know, like, what happens if I email this, who's responding, and we have to have a plan for responding to it as well. So I know that Dale does respond to all those emails, but do we have a procedure or anything, like if there's a question that's not like a data thing that the chief responds to, but more of a more general? Do we have a practice of going through those kind of questions? If we get some, I know we don't get many.
Yeah, I'm not sure with Dale what the procedure has been now, but I never think it's a bad idea to kind of explain the path that an email takes. I know that a lot of times we get the fix-it form and things like that are kind of a perfect example that people will send in, like, hey, I've noticed this problem, the walk sign and this street corner is not working. When you press it, it just doesn't work. And I always, if somebody calls with those, I always have to explain, like, here's the path. Like, first, I'm going to share your concern with this department. It gets added to this list, and then this person goes out and checks it. And if it's something, like, just to explain that just because you've sent in a complaint doesn't mean it gets fixed within the next 6 hours, that there's a path, and that it takes some hoops sometimes to jump through to get things fixed. So I don't think it's bad to kind of share those paths or hoops or explain, emails are then shared with the PCEB, who meets monthly. So if this is, that it might be a month before a concern or an issue, a larger issue is dealt with. I don't think that's, you can ever go wrong giving people that info.
I have a question regarding the social media piece that you spoke to. Do people have to opt in to Facebook or Twitter or anything like that to get access to the information we share, or that could be shared?
Nothing is private that I do. It's not, it's all, if you go, even if you're not an Instagram user and you go to Instagram.com, like Webster Grove City, you can see our posts. The Facebook page is also public. There's nothing that I've done that's locked down or private that would require you to have to be a user. You'd have to, if you are a user, you'd have to follow on Twitter to kind of get the updates normally, or follow on Facebook to see them. But nothing's hidden from that. Like when we do city chats every month, which is a Facebook Live conversation, some people have said, well, I don't use Facebook, and it's still, you can still see what we're broadcasting by going to facebook.com. And I think it's Webster Groves or Webster Grove City or something like that after that. If you go to the link, it's all there, and you don't need to be a member to see it.
So whenever we're done with our landing page, then we could just advertise to go look at it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could definitely do that. And I've done that with Sustainability Commission was one, when they did their survey and when they did their plan, their chair reached out to me, and I did a couple of graphics and things that I could use for Instagram and showed them to her and was like, is this okay if I use to kind of draw attention? And that's how we did that. So I was even willing to kind of create things that have pictures, and graphics tend to work a little bit better. So I'm always happy to build some of that graphic look for those channels.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Backing up, Jenny, to when emails came in on particular issues. When we first started our board, there was a traffic stop that garnered a lot of attention in the local community. And then the George Floyd incident, of course, did as well nationally. And Chief Curtis received, and me personally, through my PCEB email, received a lot of requests for information, and a lot of personal requests for information. And of which I forwarded to Dale, and then he would respond and copy all of the board on it. So there was a procedure in place, though it was informal. And all of those emails were answered. And in some respects with quite detail. So, I mean, none of the other board members were here except Katie and Scott at that point in time. But I wouldn't say we were bombarded, but we got a lot during those periods. And that's what I'm saying is when an incident occurs, whether it be local or national, that's when the switchboard lights up. And thankfully we haven't had that. Okay. So, you know, but there's other information I think that we can be proactive in sharing with the public because of the uptick in crime that's affecting us in Webster and the city of St. Louis as well. And so I think that there's some issues that are on people's minds that aren't necessarily the social justice issues that are out there, but are issues about crime itself, and how the police department is handling those particular situations, especially the car thefts with the 11 to 13-year-old boys coming in from Minnesota, because they know if they get into juvie court, they're going to be right out on the street the next day. And the criminals know that. So, you know, we need to make sure that people are aware in the community of what they can do to help protect their property. And I think that's real important right now.
And I think as well for those sorts of things, if there's outreach that you guys are interested in doing, like if for the car break-ins and the car thefts, we'd like to see more public awareness on things that people can do for that, or maybe some promotions of the 9 p.m. routine and different things like that. I'm happy to do what I can to push that out, whether that's on social media or the newsletters or all of it, or even on the main page. Like when you go to webstergrovesmo.gov, there's got like a news alert section that's right there on the main page that right now, I think it's 3 different flood related stories, flood resources and FEMA information, but there's also room that we can always put something there, you know, tips on car safety, you know, and just some information, some background on what's been going on and what people can do to help and what's being done otherwise. I'm happy to promote that out.
Jen, I have a question. We've talked about some of the emails that we get that maybe are questions about policies and procedures. And there were comments in the survey about wanting to see some of those things. Can the website, can it have like Q&A format?
There's a framework set up to do like FAQs. And
Yes.
so those we can do quite easily.
That's what I
and
meant.
Update those. Yeah. And a lot of them, I'm trying to think of how it's worded on the front page of the website. I believe at the very bottom. Yeah. At the very bottom under popular resources, it says city FAQs. And it literally is all of the frequently asked questions that we've got created, like animals, elections, finance, fire, general, and, you know, and so I've done their golf carts is even one of them for people. We've set up little FAQ sections for special projects. Like I believe when Douglas Hill was going on, we had a FAQ set up for that. And so that was not only on the Douglas Hill page, but also included in the larger FAQs. So if we were to create a boards and commissions FAQs and have some PCEB questions, or just even put some questions under, you know, the police department, or have a special section that would appear not only in the city FAQs with everything, but also on your page. We could double post it.
What is you said there's a city chat once a month? I wasn't even aware of that.
Yes, City Chats. It's a Facebook Live. We're doing one tomorrow at 11 a.m. We do Facebook Live broadcast, and usually it's the city manager, assistant city manager, and special guests. We did one with traffic, and Perks was on, and he was our expert on traffic along with one of our council members. We've done just kind of whatever's timely. Tomorrow's is going to kind of talk about some of the flooding issues and what planning and public works did to help those out. And and what's being done in the future. So we're happy to do different topics depending upon what's going on and what's ahead.
Scott?
I had a question, couple questions. How many followers do you have roughly? I haven't really looked at the page. I mean, are we talking thousands or
We do
many of the
have,
residents?
yeah, there's quite a bit. And I mean, Twitter, I think, is our lowest right now. And I don't know the exact numbers. We've got 1,000 followers on Instagram. Twitter is our lowest, where I think we're just still in the hundreds because it started last year. Yeah, we've got 375. Facebook is one of our best groups. Like the police department has 4,000 followers on Facebook, and the city of Webster Groves has 3,100 followers. So we're getting up
Okay.
there. Yeah.
No, I think this is a great idea. And I really feel it's been something talked about for a long time. And I really hope we can get just something out there quickly. But I wonder what our next steps would be. Is it to agree on what are some of our accomplishments or what we see as our accomplishments? Some of the meetings we've had with communities such as the one you were part of, Jenny, with Webster U, and other examples like that. Is that what we need to provide you as soon as possible? And whether the group should just have an email chat
Yeah,
about
as
that
soon as
ourselves?
the content is finalized, I can get that information up there. So I guess as soon as there's a consensus of the kind of information that you want shared on the website, and if there's additionally anything that you're interested in having, like if you're like, I want our names on the website, I want just a summary of what we've accomplished on the website, but I'd love if you could do some public awareness as to what people can do to prevent car break-ins. Like as soon as I, have that kind of sketched out, I'm able to put it where you'd like it to go.
Maybe if we had just like 4 or 5 questions that were sent to each of us board members, just to kind of get us ourselves active. What do you see as the accomplishments we've had so far? What were some of the positives? What do you think we need to do? Maybe ourselves as board members, and that way you could just look at the few of us, and we can then bring that together to develop a small amount of content quickly. I don't know what the others think about regarding that.
I think it's a good idea, because I was thinking just about how do we list our names on that page, and should we list like our affiliations, like professionally, what do we do, or what kind of information do we want? So a survey might be an easy way for everybody that's on the PCEB to respond, and we could see each other's answers if we did it like on a Google form or something.
Yeah, if there were just like 6 questions, maybe just say,
Yeah.
do you think we should have our names? Do you think our professional affiliations? Should we have a 2-sentence bio? Should we have, and what do we perceive as the accomplishments? I would think would be a start.
Yeah.
And where do we go next?
I think starting simple and just knowing that we can always change the content, but to get something up and going. I almost want to say, do we even need to ask about bios and names? Because I think what we're trying to do is engage and invite our community to engage with us, and for them to know who we are and what we do seems so important, to just make that seem open and transparent. So I almost think that's like a given. That would be.
Yeah, for me too. For me too, it's a given, but
I think it's
want
important
to
that
speak.
everybody has a PCEB email, though. I don't think you want your personal email out there.
Yeah, yes, and that's for.
And I know that
select-
there's some on the board right now that do not have a PCEB email
Right,
on the Gmail account. Because I don't want my personal email out there.
sure.
Right.
I mean, Jenny, kind of what I hear you saying is that you're ready, whenever we come up with some content, just send it on to you, and that can very quickly go up.
Yes, it should not be a problem.
Does any,
Katie, the other thing, Jenny, I know we need to research a little bit. I think that you can do personal individual email addresses for that $200. But that's something that Jenny can look into with IT. But to spend the $200 out of your $1,000 budget is something you have to vote on. So it's
That's true.
just so you're aware of that. And again, as Kevin was mentioning, if you got a personal email address you're using, if somebody subpoenas for information on board meetings, they're gonna get your personal email. So it's better before we get those, better if you can create a PCEB address. And if you'd like to do the PCEB with the city address, I think that's probably a good idea, but certainly up to you guys what you want to do.
Dale, I have a question for you. So the city has a Facebook and I follow that one. What is and the police department does too. What is the the strategy or what you choose to cover there? Because when I was reading the survey responses, some of the people were saying, hey, I want to meet the officers. And I know the city has been introducing city employees. And so I wondered if that's an area that you're already covering, or if it's something that the PCEB could do, like a meet the officer.
We're probably not, well, matter of fact, we're not doing as good a job as what we probably should be doing, but we do introduce officers. Jenny just put a couple of the new officers up. Whenever officers get an award or they do something that's of interest, we get that on the site. It's used primarily for the activity log, and if there's some general information, but again, we do put out information on both the officers and activities that the police department's doing. We can probably do a little bit better job of that.
You do ride-alongs.
We do ride-alongs. If you're 21 or older, you can arrange a ride-along anytime. And I recommended it for people on the board because it's certainly helps in terms of seeing what goes on the street and how the officers are and kind of get a feel for what goes on.
When you have meet the officers, do you put up like a little video that is a little interview? Because I know with Washington University physicians, sometimes they'll have little short 5-minute videos introducing what their interests are, and it kind of helps people get to know them a little bit and makes them feel better going to see them as a physician, as being a person. And I would wonder if you did anything like that for officers along the way.
We haven't done that. I've mainly just done photos in the Friday page or something like that, and talked about where the officers have come from. It's not impossible. It's just sometimes it's just a matter of time of getting that done, but we certainly have the capabilities to do that.
We have done a recruitment video, which some of the officers with an interview and them talking about themselves in the department. But as Jenny said, we haven't really done it for a bunch of officers individually.
I know Lexi mentioned this earlier, but that was one of the comments in the survey. Was somebody commented that said, we want to know that, police officers are people too. They're people just like us, they have lives just like us. And, I think sometimes some folks forget that.
It's not a bad idea, Scott. That's probably something we could do maybe on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, have an officer do an interview. And Jenny would have to prep them because a lot of them are not adept at public speaking.
Well, but many that you've had speak to us, I've been very impressed at their presentation. Honestly, I think they right away their humanistic qualities come through just sitting in a room with them. And I think if that's out there, that's a tremendous positive. Humanizes the force, and that's what I think it seems a lot of people want.
You got some great officers, Chief. I went the first night out, or the national night at the Webster Groves Rec Center, the pool, and had a great time with Jillian and a couple of the other officers that were there, and it's a lot more people showed up this year than the last time, but it's a great event. It just, that's the kind of stuff that I think we need to really publicize out on our landing page. It was great. I didn't take advantage of this free swim, but I talked to the fire people and the service, and then several of the police officers were there. So it was a great event. Just nobody showed up. A few people showed up, but not as many as I would like to see.
I think I go back to this ride-along thing. I've done a bunch of ride-along rides. And I think it's a wonderful way to get to know what police officers do and to get to know some of the police officers. And I can't picture a better program for community police getting to know each other, really.
We've advertised it, I've introduced to the board. Of course, a lot of the members are new, but quite honestly, we don't have very many people take advantage of it.
I'm surprised.
I think the community that we really want to serve with this, it'd have to be very intentional on our part to encourage them to do that.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we should do.
Sorry, go ahead, Lexi.
Well, I'm raising my hand. I don't want to put Sloan on the spot, but you're here at your first meeting and you're representing the younger residents of our community. Do you have any thoughts on what, if anything, you or your friends would be interested in knowing and would look for on a web page about the Police Community Engagement Board?
I would say the first place I would start would probably be maybe having like a more active Instagram and maybe like getting through the website through that, because at least for me, I know that's like the main form of social media I use. So maybe having like trying to get a bigger following on that. And I know now like Facebook and Instagram has a way that like everything on Facebook, you can also have it automatically go to your Instagram. So maybe trying to like get more involved on there, maybe get more traction from young people on the website. Yeah, I would say that's probably my main suggestion or idea.
So,
Yeah, I mean, TikTok definitely, but that would just involve like a whole new skill set. But yeah, I mean, that would be like.
I do not have that skill set. I'm gonna say no to that.
Jen, we would be, if we had things that we wanted to share on social media, we could give you that information and you could help craft it into an appropriate format and push that out on the city.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Yeah, and that's no problem. And like you mentioned, the videos of kind of introducing police officers, I think that that's something that would lend itself really well to Instagram. And I think a lot of times I do more still photos there and graphics than videos, but I think that that would be a good a place to post more of those videos. I've noticed it is popular with the youngsters because a lot of my friends' kids, I notice, like our posts on Instagram. Whereas I don't see those names popping up on Facebook or Twitter. So I think that there is a few high school kids and college students who I see liking things on Instagram. So I think that is a place where I could utilize it a little bit better to reach that age group.
And also for Sloan, I wonder, is it true? It should be short and just show some quick story, just that, you know, maybe humanizes a police officer. That'd be something that I would imagine would be of interest to your generation and 20s-year-olds as well, 30s-year-olds especially, but probably all of us.
Yeah, definitely. I would say like the shorter or definitely like videos or graphics, I'd say like it's going to be harder to get like a teenager to sit down and want to like read an article paragraph type of thing. But if it's a video or like a colorful graphic picture type of thing, that would definitely get more traffic than maybe what's going on right now. I'm not sure. But
And I think what Sloan was saying is like, you can always do, I notice a lot, they're like short graphic pieces of information. You can swipe, there's a second one you can swipe, there's a third, and then I could say like, if you want more information, go to the website. And that could refer on to the website for, more detail, but yeah, it's kind of like your, I don't know, like the headline of the newspaper kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
And then a slideshow of info. Okay.
Does anybody else have anything they're just dying to ask Jenny while we have her?
I always have something to ask Jenny.
Well, thank you for your time. It sounds like we need to get together on email or however we decide to do it, and then send you how we want it to, our sort of our first steps. And then it's just great to meet you and know that we have that open door. So thank you.
No, I'm happy to promote anything and you know, like all kind of information and news and putting things out there. There's some weeks where it's time for me to do the Friday page and I'm like, oh my God, I've got 8,000 things to mention and it's going to be a 5-page Friday page. And other weeks where I'm like, I guess I mentioned this event for the 3rd week in a row. Like I just don't have anything. So I'm always happy to tell folks that if they have stuff, get it to me and I'm happy to put it out. And especially if it's kind of evergreen information like safety tips and things that aren't necessarily by a certain deadline, that's even better because I can use those during the slow weeks and repurpose them and get that out there.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Shane.
All right.
Well, can I make a comment for you guys move on? Just, I think it's better here with Jenny's presentation. I don't know if I mentioned this last time we met about the school district having a function in the park.
Thanks.
Well, on September the 10th, it's the Equity Action Committee is doing the family barbecue, back to school type thing. Normally it's for school, but the time it's just back to school. So that's a school district sponsored function. And you're supposed to respond back by the 12th of August, but that date might be able to get you in there. I'm just saying it's an opportunity since it's a school district function. I don't think they have a problem introducing Sloan as the representative to the PCB. And then since the PCB is part of the city, I don't think the city have a problem introducing Sloan as representative of the school district. So as far as getting that information out there and PCB having a table at that function.
All right.
The last time I remember we had one, it was almost close to 250 to 300 people from the community, of all schools. That was at that thing.
Where did you say it is, Emerson?
At, I don't know what call it Bell Park.
Ivy Crock. Yeah.
So,
What time is it, Emerson? What time?
Well, it's on the 10th of September from 11 to 12:30 at Ivy Crockett Park. But you have to contact John Wilson at the district to make sure that you can participate. I can send her an email to see if we can't get up under that wire, to have a table there. PCB can be there, some policemen can be there, just to say who you are and what you do and introduce yourself to the community. I think
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Do you have-
Since you have a two-way media now with the school district, so they'll have no problem introducing Sloan. And we don't have a problem introducing Sloan. And then it's introducing the PCB all over again in both mediums.
I think it's a good spot. Are you available? Do you know?
I would assume so. I would need to check, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll check with Sean and see if
Okay.
anything.
Will you just email me then? And
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
If not, I'll put some pressure on you.
All right. All right, well, that brings us to the fact that we need to plan a work session for September, and I think a lot of us were here last time, but one of the things that's coming to light is just how many kind of nitty gritty things that are outside the scope of like a normal monthly meeting that we need to do. So some of those things, hold on, I wrote down the list. Some subcommittees, and Kevin and Lexi, you guys, if you want to chime into, but some subcommittees that we talked about was a subcommittee to Kevin establish that we ensure that ordinance goals are accomplished as directed, right? Isn't that one of them? Okay, then a nominating committee, subcommittee for a new board chair. We also need the calendar. I think that we said that maybe to create, and maybe this isn't a committee, but Lexi, maybe it is. So it's sort of like a yearly calendar that has ongoing monthly meetings or events that we want to be a part of, right? Sort of like this back to school barbecue would be one of those things, right? And then actually, as Jenny was just talking, I think we probably need a subcommittee that's like public outreach / website. So almost like a PR subcommittee. And that we have some just kind of hashing it out and making some decisions and moving forward things that would be beyond the scope of like this monthly meeting. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
calendar really feeds into that idea of outreach and communications, because it's really just a tool to help us do a better job of it and stay on top of it.
So, so that would all fold under this, it would be like a communications subcommittee and the calendar fold into that. Okay. Scott, it seems like you had something.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking that the subcommittee saying, are we following the regulation of what we need to get accomplished and done, should feed right immediately to the calendar, that we could kind of put that out, we have to do this by a certain time, and try and talk to however we're putting the calendar out, that we pace ourselves rather than the last minute we're trying to do 55 things.
Yes, I agree with that. Then we're gonna be much more effective if we can have it 3 months in advance rather than
And-
2 weeks before.
And connect it onto the calendar. We have this, we got to get done by a certain time. So maybe we quickly go over those things. I'm happy to review those with a few on what's in the ordinance, and say, what are we needing to get done before the end of this next 4 to 6 months, if not the entire year, and try and space them out and set ourselves goals.
Being part of the meeting, part of the work meeting or the work session. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can all look at calendars then and see, my hope would be, I know people's time is at a premium, that no more than 2 hours for that. Does that seem doable? Kevin, is that, I see, 2 hours is, I think, all we can really ask of people. And so anyway, if we normally have our meeting the fourth Tuesday of the month, next month is the 27th,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Dale, do you know about accessibility for this meeting room?
Can't get on there right now. We gotta get a calendar when we check it, but I can check the boards and commissions when their regular meetings are. There's not a lot of time, but I can send it to you if you guys want, then you can pick and choose.
Is there a night of the week or that people tend to have more ease?
But does it have to be in this room?
I guess it doesn't.
It doesn't have to be, but this is the only, here in the council chambers, the only rooms where you can do Zoom public meetings. The conference room, the Osage room, the police department will be available almost anytime, but you can't do a Zoom meeting. That's the problem.
If we keep it to a smaller subcommittee, can we just do it like we did the last time we nominated for the chair?
You're not required to do a Zoom meeting. I'm just
As long
saying,
as we keep it under the quorum.
if you have an open meeting where somebody can walk in, it doesn't have to be on Zoom. The only reason I shouldn't say only, the main reason we're doing Zoom is so it provides a convenient vehicle for people who can't attend the meeting to actually see it. But we don't ever have to do Zoom. It just has to be an open meeting.
Meeting.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, my preference would be to leave here with a date on the calendar. If everybody's comfortable with that, and then we can use whatever room seems available based on that.
I'm gonna try and pull it up on my phone with the card. If you guys want to go ahead, I'll see it. If I can get the calendar for the rooms. Did you want to try and do it in here?
Sure, I mean, it's, everybody knows where it is, and it does have the Zoom capability, so. So we know we're not gonna do the fourth Tuesday. I think a lot of times Tuesdays are already meetings. Mondays aren't always so good for me. Wednesdays and Thursdays, I have a lot of flexibility. It's any bit, how are Wednesdays and Thursdays? Sloan's nodding.
Are you actually talking about a subcommittee or are you talking about a work
I'm talking
session?
about a work session.
Okay,
Yeah.
you keep saying subcommittee, I'm like, yeah, I'm solid way, you're really looking.
Okay.
I think the agenda for the work session would be to establish the subcommittees
Yes, right,
and then to charge the subcommittees with responsibilities.
right.
And if we can accomplish all of that in 2 hours, we'll be dynamite. I mean, so find out who's going to chair the subcommittee, and then they're going to meet separately, probably by Zoom. Okay. I have a Zoom account, so I mean, I can certainly, set that kind of meeting up. But
I do as well.
I do as well.
yeah, so Scott, I'm assuming you do as well. So
Absolutely all the time.
yeah.
Just to,
I live on Zoom.
just to throw it out there, just for a stab in the dark, how's Wednesday, the 21st?
Fine.
All right.
I can
Anybody?
do that. Did we want to try and do it earlier though? Because that's like just a week before do we want to try and,
How's Wednesday, the 14th?
now you're talking.
All right.
Wednesday,
would-
the 14th or Thursday, the 15th are okay for me.
All right.
I'm good on both of those too.
Are you talking about doing it exclusively as a meeting?
No, we're talking about doing a work session here if possible.
Well, it has to be an open meeting. If
Yes.
you're gonna do a Zoom meeting, there might be a way to do it with an individual account, but that's probably not gonna.
I wouldn't
Yeah. I'm
We were talking
Why not?
about, for when we did break out into subcommittees, we could do Zoom, but this would be a work session where we're gonna establish what the subcommittees are and then sort of like give a scope of work to
Right, so that
those.
would be a group of you, and if
Yeah.
you want it on Zoom, it's almost gonna have to be in here. And I don't know about the 21st,
What about the 14th?
I can't access the room schedule on my phone, unfortunately.
Okay, that's okay. I think the other thing is we can do the work session in a different room and just have it open and not have Zoom as a possibility, right?
Yes.
Yep.
As long as it's an open meeting, you can have it anywhere.
Okay.
Like I said, the Osage room will be open. I can't say it almost all the time, but there's pretty flexible schedule there, so.
And with people's work schedules, is 6:30 the best time to start the meeting?
Anytime after 4:30.
What about you guys?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
6:30 is good for me. I can get here by then from work.
I can make it happen.
Okay, let's say 6:30 on the 14th and then, but place to be decided and then we'll know whether there's gonna be the availability via Zoom or just an open meeting.
I can check right after this meeting down on my computer. If
Okay.
the room's available, I'll email and let you know if it's not. I'll reserve the other room that is open.
Okay,
We
All
will
right.
need to post this.
yes,
So as soon as we get a date, since you're still the board chair, Katie, you can send Katie an email to say our agenda is essentially to establish subcommittees and responsibilities for each of those and that's the agenda.
okay. All right, that sounds good. Now, we also had on our agenda for tonight, the survey results and discussion, but since Lexi was gonna lead that and she's had a pretty trying day, we're gonna push that to September.
That's fine. I have them up, but that's okay. I mean, we're already at an hour.
Yeah.
And I think that let me share my screen real quick to show you what I can present. And if that works, then I'll just be prepared to present it the next time.
Okay.
Okay. So essentially, I'll just pull this up. This is the results of the survey. And I can scroll through them as to, what the results were. And then when we get to the bottom, all the comments will be there. And I would like to spend a little time with the comments.
That's good. Lexi, you have your hand up too.
Well, yeah, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, I have downloaded the responses. I wanted to go through those comments and try to group them into like different topics.
Go for it.
So that we could analyze, and then if I share that information, or I could just do some pie charts just in Excel or put them on a PowerPoint, or so maybe you and I could tag team on that.
Sure, I can go through these questions and then you can take it over on the comments.
Okay, cool. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that works. So, because I think I'll go through these pretty quick. We got the beef. I mean, that's where the comments are where the important stuff is. There was actually quite a few good comments.
And a lot of them, there were 73 comments.
Yeah,
and
73 comments. So
more than half of the people commented.
yeah. So anyway, I'll stop. But that's what I think we've got a plan for September. So
Okay, that's good. That's great. Thank you both. And then the next thing was, does anybody have any additional updates or anything that we like? Emerson, thank you for the information on the back to school. Anybody else have anything? Lexi?
I have two things. One of them I put in the email that I sent. So I attended the North Webster Neighborhood Coalition meeting, and it was, shortly after the July 4th holidays. And those of you that follow the social media accounts might know that the basketball court that was newly redone in the neighborhood was damaged from kids shooting off fireworks. And there were at least 3 or 4 people that were really upset, that it happened, but also sort of frustrated, like, what can we do as a community, to prevent that from happening, and having questions about the police response to it. It was kind of interesting to hear, because a previous meeting, a police officer had come and talked about how, they do handle it. You give a warning, you come back, and it sounds like probably the officers did do that. It's just that they couldn't be there all the time. And so as soon as the police officers would leave, kids could sneak back and start shooting off fireworks again. But I thought it was important to share with you all that there were concerns. There were also ideas about what could we do as a community to help protect our own neighborhood. And one of the frustrations that they had, really, I don't think it has anything really to do with the PCEB, but just the sense that there are young people in the community with the ability to get to the parks where there's not a parent, supervising what's going on. And sounds like they were pretty sassy to the police officers, saying something like, what are you going to do, arrest us all? Now, this is all, I've heard all of this, second or even third hand. So I don't know for sure what transpired, but I just wanted to share that with the group.
you got 11-year-olds coming down from Minnesota. What are their parents doing? They're stealing cars.
Yeah, I haven't followed that news, but it is a frustration about, if it's young people, there are protocols for, what officers, can and should do. And what do you do when you have it's really a culture, it's a societal issue, right?
I saw, Lexi, that you said that the community members were considering hiring like private security, is that something that is allowed? Can they do that in a
Well,
park?
they were just speculating on, is that a possibility? And they acknowledged the police officers have a lot of stuff to do, so they can't just stay there. But they said, knowing that the 4th of July holiday is just a time that's going to be prone for maybe more pranks or potentially damaging activities, would that be possible?
I responded to Councilperson Alexander because she expressed that concern. I don't know if she was at, sounded like she was at the coalition meeting, but in any case, they certainly can hire, private security can be hired for just about anything. But as far as the actual community days next year, I can't tell you exactly how we're going to arrange the resources, but we will at least have a detail probably on the 3rd and the 4th that will cover it most, if not all the time. The park closes at dark. It's a delicate balance of not over policing, and that's one of the problems that the officers run into, especially with the juveniles.
Yep.
Because quite frankly, the juveniles are correct. It's a artist violation. Number one, you really don't want to make an arrest for that. So what the worst you're going to do is issue a summons. It's going to go to family court, which is going to go nowhere. So what we're going to try and do is we'll move some resources from areas that we have in the past covered that we probably don't, we can back off a little bit and devote them to the park. The problem being, like you said, is that we can do it for the 3rd and the 4th. We can't do it every night. We can't be there 20, for 24/7 for the whole week. So we are going to address it. I'm fairly certain we can stop it from happening on like maybe the 3rd and the 4th or the 4th and the 5th. But it is an issue where the community needs to help us out. And the other part of that picture is a lot of the young people who are doing the fireworks don't live in that area. They're coming in from outside of the area to that park. So, it's really, it's a society issue in a way. It's hard to talk about parents from outside the community. It's hard enough inside the community. So hopefully they don't blame the residents, the kids that live up there too much, because a lot of that were people from the outside coming into the park. But we're aware of it. Talked to Councilperson Alexander about it and explain what happened and how it happened. And the next year we do have a plan, but unfortunately fireworks start usually end of June, end of July, and don't end until middle of July or late July. So we can't be up there every night.
Yeah, they're still going off. I heard them last night.
I hope it was fireworks.
It was fireworks.
How extensive was the damage and has it been fixed?
It's about $50,000.
Has it been fixed?
It's been repaired to a great extent. They can't fix it 100%. It's about, I'd say 90%, 5%.
One of the things that I mentioned at the coalition meeting, they've probably been shooting fireworks on that court for so long. It's just a standard thing because the courts have been in such disarray for so long.
I'm sure they didn't realize it.
They didn't realize it, but just like Chief said, I checked. I was really ticked off when I went by to see it. Those kids, they're not in that. They don't live in a neighborhood. They, 'cause I know most of all the people live right across from the park, and they don't have any kids. But they told me that they don't listen to us. So one of the things I suggested to the coalition is that if there's really a concern that we want to address, we can have a night at the park where we're up there roasting hot dogs or something to keep them off the courts and things of that nature. Make it some type of activity for the kids so they know that they can't do it. Like I said, they've been doing that for so long. Of course, I don't know if you saw the courts before they fixed it. It was terrible. I mean, it was in bad shape, but just like Chief said, things can be done, but I think it needs the support of the community to do it because some kids just don't have respect. I mean, they just say, arrest me if you that bad, so.
They learn it from the adults.
Well, I know the parents send them down there so they don't have to monitor, and.
Yep. I'm old school. If there's no consequences, then this is what you get. So
You can do that.
Yeah. It really upset me when I saw it because I was really proud of the city, you know, we revamped 3 courts, you know, basketball court. I think we got pickleball and corkball. And we redid the walkway, the sidewalks, you know, all concrete. And painted the restrooms, all that good stuff. And that's how it's gonna be treated. That's that didn't set well with me. But I did give them the benefit of the doubt. It was probably such disarray. They didn't even notice that it was a new layer on the court. So,
Well, thanks. Thank you for being part of that, Lexi, and thank you for opening that part of the discussion. And that's good for us to know if, you know, for those of us who weren't there, different things are going on and the greater community. So,
yeah. The second thing I wanted to ask a question of you all, if we're wanting to get the website beefed up a little bit pretty quickly, is there any objection to my putting together a little Google form to make sure that we've got people's names and a little bio to just collect that information so that perhaps I could come to that working session meeting with, here's some content that we might put up on the website?
I think that's good. I'd like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, I'll do that.
Give us a deadline to respond.
Okay.
I need a deadline. If I don't get a
And,
deadline, it's not gonna get done.
That does make me think, does everybody check at least once a week their PCEB email? If not, I would like to ask, because it is kind of, sometimes when I send an email, I feel like it's just going into the oblivion. So it would be nice if everybody could check once a week. All right, well, I think we're done for tonight, unless anybody has anything that is very pressing. It's getting dark, the season is changing, so anyway, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Kevin. Do I have a second? Thanks, Paul. All right, thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you September 14th.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lexi.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Feel better.
Thank you.
Yep. Everybody, bye.